Hello students. In the last class, we have learnt about the letters, the inquiry letters, and what should be the reply to the inquiry letters. In the coming classes, I will also give you the specimen kind of letters for the inquiries itself. So in this class, we are going to see about the offers and the quotations. So once you are sending the inquiry letter, you will get an answer, a reply from the merchant who is selling the product required by you. So he may give you it in the form of an offer, or he may give it in the form of a quotation. So both offer and quotation, they may mean the same thing, but there is slight difference between offer and a quotation. The main difference is the offer is voluntary in nature. It is just like a sales letter to sell a particular product to large number of prospective customers, including the existing customers. Normally, the offer is in printed form, but in today's digital era, the offer is normally made by the emails. If you open your email and if you go to the promotion inbox, you can see hundreds of offer letters from various companies, various products are lying there. You can just go and read what are they offering, so that you will get a better idea how they send the offer letters. It is one thing. And the second thing is the quotation. So quotation is a specific offer of a sale. So when you are giving the inquiry, the quotation is tailor made for that particular inquiry. For example, I want to purchase um, aluminium foils for my industry. So they will give the quotation for the aluminium foil. I want to purchase mobile phones. So they will give the quotation for the mobile phones exactly required by me. So that is we call as a quotation. Or else it may also happen like this. I want a set of products, like you are building you are in a construction business. You require sand, you require cement, you require iron, you require some stones, crushed stones, bricks. So you give your requirement and they will send you the quotation based on your requirement. So that we can call as the quotation. So what we can tell is it includes the details about the prices of specific goods desired, and what are the terms of payment, and what are the conditions of the delivery for such other details are included. Okay, so this is about the this offer letter and the quotation. There is also something called as the firm offer. So now what is the firm offer? Firm offer is that where the seller undertakes to accept an order at the specified price and conditions and within a specified time only. You have given the inquiry, you had requested, we want this material and this is the price we are going to pay. And these are the conditions, terms and conditions. And if seller agrees, yes, it is okay, then you can call it as a firm offer. There is also something called as a offer without engagement. So the offer can be made even without engagement. In such offer, what happens? The seller does not find himself to accept the order at the price and conditions which are given in the inquiry letter. Okay, so he reserves the right to negotiate further. That is the nothing but the offer without the engagement. So while making the offer, you have to make sure to so now you are learning it from the perspective of a person who is selling the goods. So when you are making the offer to someone, you have to make sure to write some important points. What quality of goods you are going to supply? What is the unit of weight? Unit of weight means kg, numbers, liters, metric tons. What is the unit of weight? And what are the terms of payment? Terms of payment, can include cash or credit. If it is credit, what is the time period, maximum time period given for the credit, and what is the mode of payment. Then where you are going to deliver the way, whether you are going to deliver to warehouse or you are going to deliver to the directly to the shop, that is the place of the delivery. And what is the mode of transportation? Mode of transportation, it may be by road, or it may be by railway, or it may be through water using a ship. And what is the time of delivery? Within how many days you are going to deliver the product? Within 4 days, within 5 days, depending upon the availability and what is the time required for you to make the necessary arrangements, and what are the charges of packing, and who is going to bear those charges. For example, if I want to deliver a TV in Hubli itself, I will simply deliver it in a normal packaging which is given by the company. Say for example, I want to deliver the same TV to some other customer who is living in Bangalore. So I cannot deliver it using the normal packaging. I have to give extra cushion, extra support, and I have to make some extra expenses on the packaging of that particular TV. So who is going to pay for that extra packaging? What are the charges of packaging? So that is also should be mentioned in the offer letter. So then offer must always be attractive and appealing. And once you are giving the offer, the customer should be able to get convinced that he has to buy or make the business with you only. So that is called as the offer. And what are the terms and quotations? See, what happens is in every business there are certain short forms, certain jargons which are used explicitly. So before entering into such a business, before entering into transactions, we have to understand what are those jargons, what are those business jargons. Normally, business jargons are known by both the seller and the customer. You know, there is no required to again explain the customer that this is a the meaning of this one. You can just mention that, so the customer will understand because they are already in the business. So these are some of the important terms, and normally you should remember these terms because these are very useful once you start your career. And these questions are also expected for 2 marks in your examination. So one is the loco price. What is the loco price? Loco or else local. You can check local. Okay, you can relate the loco to the local. So what is the meaning of local now? Local price is nothing but the price of the goods at the seller's factory or warehouse. Where is my warehouse? In Hubli. And what is the price of the good at that particular point? So you can understand it will not include packing charges, it will not include the transport charges of the goods to the buyer. Whenever a new vehicle releases, you can see the price of the vehicle is written as a some example 5 lakh. You might have seen in newspaper, it will be written X warehouse price. X warehouse price also, it is also local price or X factory price. That means what? That 5 lakh is for that vehicle only when it is in the warehouse or it is in the factory. But when you go and purchase, it will increase. It will be 6 lakh, 6.5 lakh, depending upon the taxes, depending upon the transit charges, depending upon the distributor or the dealer collection. So that is what it is called as a loco price. So whenever a buyer, seller is telling it is a loco price, it automatically implies that the expenses of transit and the expenses of packaging are all borne by the buyer only. You have to come to warehouse and you take it. That is called as a warehouse price. Then there is something called as a X warehouse price. So X warehouse price is that price of the goods at the warehouse of the seller. Okay, here what happens? Here also it is almost similar to loco price only. Here all the expenses related to the packing, freight, loading, unloading, all are borne by the buyers only. So it is almost like the loco price only. Only one single difference what I can understand is in the loco price, the what you call this packing charges may sometimes be borne by the seller, but in exo warehouse pricing the packing charges are also not borne by the seller. This is one thing. The next kind of pricing is the next kind of term is at station pricing. So now what is at station pricing? In the at station pricing, what happens? It includes the cost of the goods. It includes the cost of the goods, and it includes the charges of transportation also. It is the at station price. It includes the cost of goods, and it also includes the just it includes the cost of goods, and it also includes the charges of the transportation. So this is the at station price. There is also something called as the free on rail. So normally even the free on rail full form is not mentioned. What is mentioned is the FOR, free on rail. So you have to understand very clearly in the free on rail what and all charges um, are included in the cost of goods. The first one is the packing charge, the packing, the carriage to the railway station, and loading the goods in the wagon. The wagon is nothing but the railway bogie, and all the subsequent charges like railway freight. What are the charges to carry the goods? The railway freight. So these are all the subsequent charges: railway freight, unloading charges, carriage of the goods to the buyer's warehouse or the shop. These other charges are going to be borne by the buyer and not the seller. So the seller will pay the charges till the railway freight, okay. After railway freight, other charges, after railway freight, other charges are normally borne by the buyers, not by the sellers. Then there is something called as the here you can see it is not given the unloading charges. Once the train has arrived, you have to unload from the bogie. Then you have to carry those goods from the what you call the station to the warehouse, and again from that warehouse you have to carry those goods to the shop or factory. So all these charges are borne by the buyer only, not by the seller. So how can you remember this one? See here, free on rail. It is given as rail. So that means what? Till railway station, packing, carriage to railway station, loading in the bogie, and the railway freight are borne by the seller. Remaining charges are borne by the buyer. This is the FOR. Then there is something called as a free on board. So here you can see in the free on board charges, the price includes the cost of goods. The price includes the cost of goods. It also includes the packing charges. It includes the carriage to the docks. It includes the loading of goods on board, and it also includes what you call this ship. These charges are borne by the, these expenses are borne by the seller, not the buyer. This is wrong. It is seller. These are borne by the seller. Okay, not the buyer. Kindly make the correction. These are borne by the seller. So the cost of goods, the expenses of packing, you have to remember number one, cost of goods, expenses of packing, carriage to the docks. Docks is nothing but the ship, on the ship, what you call, where from the ship leaves, where from the train leaves, and loading of the good to the ship. These are nothing but the free on board charges. Then, what are the charges borne by the buyer? So, the shipping freight. Okay, shipping freight means the ship charges, the transport charges of the ship. And once the goods are arrived at the buyer station, the unloading charges, the charges of taking out the goods from the ship, and the carriage of the goods to buyer's place, those are all borne by the buyer. Okay, so these are the things. It is free on board. So you can just relate this to free on rail. Free on rail is for the railway station, but here one thing is railway freight is also borne by the seller. Free on board is for the ships, but here the shipping freight is not borne by the seller, it is borne by the buyer. This is one thing. Next, another term is carriage forward. So now what are the carriage forward? The carriage forward is that term where the transport charges are borne by the buyer. Whatever the transport it is borne by the buyer. Carriage paid, it is opposite. The transport up to the buyer's place is borne by the seller. So by name itself you can make out carriage forward means the seller is not paying anything to the transport, it is paid by the buyer. Carriage paid means it is like a prepaid. Seller has already paid for the transport, and only what you have to do is you have to just get the material from the nearest station, or the seller may also send the goods directly to the buyer's place. This is one thing. Then very important another term, it is the cost and freight. Okay, cost and freight. They may also tell us C and F. C and F. Excuse me for this handwriting. C and F. Cost and freight. So here what happens in the cost and freight? Seller bears all the expenses till the goods reach the buyer's place, and the buyer bears all the expenses like unloading and carriage to the warehouse or the factory. I'll give one example. You are purchasing some goods from the Bangalore. Your office is located in Hubli. So all the expenses, the Bangalore from the sellers go down to the railway station or transport company office, and the transport charges or railway charges, and the goods are till the goods are reaching the what you call the Hubli. Once the goods are reached to Hubli, the unloading charges and the carriage charges are borne by the you only, borne by the buyer only. This is a cost and freight. We can also they may also just say C and F, cost and freight. The next is the cost, insurance and freight. So in the last class, I had told you why insurance is important for the goods which are in long transit. Some goods are arriving from Mumbai to Hubli. In middle, if something happens to the goods, the loss is normally taken up or made good by the insurance company. So the cost, insurance and freight, it is just like cost and freight. It includes extra what is, it includes the insurance. It includes the insurance, and this insurance is paid by the seller only. The insurance has to be paid by the seller only. So this is a cost, insurance and freight, CIF. Then there is something is called as the franco pricing. In the franco pricing, what happens? The seller bears all the expenses. The buyer do not bear any expense. Example, you're ordering something from the e-commerce like Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal. So if you see, the product cost itself is including everything. You don't need to pay anything. For example, on Flipkart, if some mobile is priced for 10,000 rupees, that means within that 10,000 rupees, the mobile will reach till your place. You no need to pay the packing charges, no required to pay the insurance, not required to pay the transport charges, unloading charges, any kind of charges not required to be paid. So these are the important terms used in the offers and quotations.